Impunity, shortcuts, cheap labor, material, poor workmanship and corruption during the construction are the leading causes of the collapsing of multi-story buildings in the country, according to a report by National Construction Authority. Now, in less than a month, at least 4-story buildings have collapsed in Kiambu and Nairobi counties, the end result being loss of lives and property. TV47's Mwege William paints a picture of the devastating state of affairs that collapsed buildings are leaving behind. Take a look.
A police officer stationed at the Ruiru police station did not turn a blind eye to a crack he had noticed on a residential building, and his bold decision to report the matter saved hundreds of lives, with the building crumbling down hours after a swift evacuation of all tenants.
There is no one inside. And come down with every...
The incident is not an isolated one, with 4 buildings in a span of a month collapsing in different parts of Nairobi's metropolitan areas. In some instances, the incidents claiming lives. Both Nairobi's and Kiambu's leadership have swung into action in a bid to stem the menace. Nairobi Governor Johnson Sakaja has since reconstituted the Nairobi County Urban Planning Technical Committee that is responsible of approving buildings. But this is not a new threat to Kenyans' lives, with a report released in 2022 by the National Construction Authority stating that in a span of 5 years, more than 85 buildings have collapsed. And in the same period, an estimated 200 persons have lost their lives and over 1,000 injured as a result. All these, according to experts, boiling down to shortcuts, poor workmanship and impunity at the construction stages. But at the height of impunity, are government officials who benefit, innocent persons are left counting losses, lost lives and livelihoods, as well as many questions. Just who will the questions be directed to? On the 15th of November this year, Naomi Nyongesa was patiently waiting for her husband Moses Juma, a construction fundi, to be back home as she had some important issues to discuss with him. But a news story on TV about a collapsed building in Kasarani made her worried, prompting her to make several calls to the husband. But the calls went unanswered.
Jioni nilipofika mimi nikarudi kwa nyumba, nikaanza kuprepare sapa. Kidogo kufungua TV nikasikia hapo Kasarani nyumba imeanguka. Sasa akili yangu ikakimbia, nikajiuliza, na hiyo area ndio yenye mume wangu anafanya, ni nyumba gani hiyo imeanguka? Sasa juu ilikuwa ni usiku, nikashindwa venye nitafanya, nikashindwa nitaenda aje na sipajui. Nikapigia brother-in-law simu, nikamuelezea. Akaniambia, shemeji, ngojea asubuhi ikifika tutajua ni wapi. But hiyo usiku nilishinda nikicall simu yake, ilikuwa tu inaitana, hakuna mwenye anachukua.
Naomi remained calm and bold, expecting some good news from the site of the ill-fated 7-story building that was under construction. Unfortunately for her, the news was not good.
Sasa venye nilifika hapo, nikafinya namba yake, nikaitania hapo, simu ilikuwa kwa box. Sasa ndio wakaanza kuniambia kama ni mtu wa hii simu, sidhani kama ameumia. Kama ni kuumia, ameumia tu kiasi, but hajaumia sana. Watu wenye tumetoa tumekimbiza hospitali. Nilipokuwa nimeketi tu pale na kuna kazi ni ya mzee wangu, kidogo akakuja anapiga nduru. Sasa mimi venye niliona anapiga nduru nikashtuka ni nini inaendelea. Anasema Musa amekufa. Hapo ndio nilitambua mzee wangu hayuko.
The 33-year-old mother of 3, now left with the burden to school and cater for her children, reveals that her husband once told her the building had been marked unsafe, but because of the meager income the two were making at the time and the scarcity of jobs, Juma could not dare quit the job, all because of safety issues.
Nasema tu, mimi kitu aliniambia tu kazi hapo ni mzito sana. Na hiyo mjengo imewekwa X. Hivyo tu.
So what happens if a building under construction is marked unsafe? Kamau Moshai, a contractor in the building and construction industry for close to 10 years, says the Kasarani incident could have been avoided, explaining the follow-up actions that will have been taken after the relevant authorities realized it was unsafe.
Ukiwa X, unafaa, unaenda una make sure umefika to the level yenye walikuwa wanataka, ama vitu zote zenye wanatakanga umetikiwa zote, ndio tena wana release, unaendelea na kujenga. But most of these people, si unaenda unapatiana kitu kidogo, nyumba yako wewe unaendelea na kazi. Hao watu wenye walikuwa wamekuwekea X hao hawayuko, juu wao wanajua vizuri walishafanya kazi yao, wewe umepeana kitu kidogo, shida inabaki kwako. So nyumba yenye imewekwa X na inaendelea na kujengwa na NCA hawaja approve, inamaanisha kuna shida fulani kubwa sana na huyo client, ndio afai kuendelea na kujenga.
Even with the persons responsible for the construction of the Kasarani building face law enforcement agencies, Naomi, now a widow, questions what next for her and her family, which has been dealt a huge blow by the passing on of the head of their family.
Niko na watoto wako shule. Hata tulikuwa tujakilia school fees. Nyumba yenyewe iko hapo inafaa nilipe, sijalipa. Sasa mimi naomba tu kama serikali inasikiza, inisaidie nijue watoto nitalea aje. Juu mwenye alikuwa tegemeo ametoka. Yes, nitazoea lakini sio rahisi hivyo. So, naomba tu serikali nisaidie. At least nijue venye hao watoto wangu watasoma na nijue venye nitaishi.
The ill-fated Kasarani building did not only claim the life of Juma, but those of a few others. A lady only identified as Shiro was also crushed to death by the falling building.
Shiro alikuwa amegongwa kichwa, ilikuwa imebondeka side moja, and one of the eyes ilikuwa imepop out totally. She had a broken hand. I'm not sure which one, but there was a broken hand and broken leg. That was the situation. Plus the body of Shiro ilikuwa imefura.
Shiro had gone to deliver food to construction workers at the site, as she was accustomed to, oblivious of the danger ahead.
Shiro is a young girl. I can show you from the photos that I have. She's 22 years old. She has left behind a kid that is 1 year. Just 1 year. Alikuwa amekuja Nairobi kumhasulia.
She was laid to rest on the 23rd of November at her home in Laikipia County, leaving behind a child.
Sisi hatuna maneno mingi. We can only ask you people to ask Honorable Sakaja. He's the governor of Nairobi, the guy we gave work. I voted for that man. And I'm only requesting, if you are able to reach him through this news, you could ask if we can get whether there is anything, if he's doing anything for us to have that compensation or something of the sort from the owner of the building, because the owner of the building is on the run. The DCI was trying to tell us, I don't know, he is in the US. You know, that is not for us.
While in a span of 2 weeks, 4 buildings have collapsed, some claiming lives. The story of the collapsed story building in Ruiru is different. Its tenants living to tell the story of how they escaped death by a whisker. White note for a police officer stationed here at Ruiru Police Station. The situation here could have been different. Right now, it is the retrieval of properties. Maybe it could have been worse, the retrieval of bodies.
Sasa ningekuwa maiti, nyama ziokoteki, sijulikane ni nini. Yeah, hivyo.
Hapo sasa hii ploti ingeumiza watu wengi juu iko na more than 100 residents. Yeah. Ingeumiza watu wengi sana. Juu kama si huyo mwenye aliona, of which mimi nasema tu ni Mungu alimguide. Tunashukuru tu Mungu. Juu tungelala hapo, juu for us, okay. Mzee wangu akitoka aende kazi, juu mimi nilikuwa kwa kanisa, alinitext nikiwa church. Akaniambia hii plot ameacha watu wakiangalia cracks. So nikitoka kanisa niende nitafute nyumba tuame Monday. So for us tulikuwa tulale kwa hiyo nyumba hiyo Sunday. Sema tu ni Mungu alituokoa.
On the 21st of November, the 5-story building collapsed hours after its tenants were ordered to vacate. The building, which is just opposite Ruiru police station, had visible cracks just days before its caving in.
Tuliwapa nayo security ilikuwa sawa, so siku anataka kwenda mbali sana. Ndio maana nikaingia kwa hiyo nyumba. So hata nikipata makosa ile ya stima ama nini, yule mzee nikimpigia siku moja nini, haezi chukulia ile, hakuwa anachukulia zile mambo stato serious. So hii kutendeka, I don't know. I think pia hiyo ignorance imechangia kwake. Kitu ya kwanza stima. Stima ulikuwa unaenda ukiwakisha shower unapigwa na shock ukizima hiyo maji. Maji ikiwa na breakage mahali hiyo haoni kama big deal. Huko tu mlipe mwisho wa mwezi, that's all. So hata mimi makosa yangu kukaa hapa nilikuwa ni ile tulikuwa tumeshazoeana naye ile mzee. Yaani unaona huyu ni mzee, mmezoeana naye.
Kuna polisi mmoja juu tuko opposite police station ya Ruiru. Kuna polisi mmoja alienda juu hiyo crack kulikuwa kumewekwa kitu inakaa mbao, akatoa akaenda akareport. Ndio sasa maaskari wengine wakakuja wakaandikisha, then wakarundi sasa kuambia watu waame. For those wenye walikuwa kwa nyumba hiyo mchana yote, at least kuna wenye walimanage kutoa vitu zote.
The client should be responsible, the engineers should be responsible, county should be responsible, regulatory authorities hizi kama NCA zinafaa zikuwe responsible. Hakuna mtu anafaa achiliwe, inafaa investigatiwe from design to implementation. Hadi saa zile nyumba ilianguka, nani hakufanya kazi yake? You can easily know mtu hakufanya kazi yake. If it's the structural engineer, utakuja uangalie hizi columns zenye zilikuwa zimewekwa kwa hii nyumba, can they bear the load that hiyo nyumba ilikuwa imewekelewa? Unaona? If it's the regulation ama regulatory authorities, ukienda kwa site upate ni vitu different na what was brought to your nini, unaona? Mbona mlikubali waendelee na kazi, unaona? You find that unapata hata nyumba imewekwa X na bado inaendelea tu.
The former tenants of the building have since relocated but continue to stream in at the site, at least to see if they can salvage some of their properties. With the owner of the building later being arraigned in court, Ruiru Principal Magistrate Ms. Jane Agonda allowed a miscellaneous application for the state to have Stephen Ngaroya Getau, the owner of the building, remanded for 7 days for police to complete investigations.
So the police are seeking time to conclude investigations. This is well within their mandate. The suspects are charged with, are suspected to have committed serious offences. This is a matter of great public interest as the lives of the general public are at risk. I note the various stakeholders will be involved in the investigations, and in the interest of justice, I shall grant the police a period of 10 days to complete investigations and prefer necessary charges. And so the respondents will be detained at Karori police station.
Still in Kiambu County, in an early morning incident on the 17th of November, a couple died after a building under construction in Ruaka, Kiambu County, collapsed on their house early morning. The 6-story building at Old Ruaka Road came down at around 3:30 a.m. as the man and woman were asleep at their iron sheet house adjacent to the construction site.
Wamekuja hapa, wanapeana pesa, nyumba inajengwa. It's been condemned quite a number of times.
The National Construction Authority has since released a report detailing causes of building collapsing. Many of the cases were mainly due to technical issues such as substandard materials and lack of quality assurance. Other factors were ignorance of the law and regulations, inadequate laws, poor coordination, lack of proper material testing tools, and poor construction supervision, among others. Kamau Mushai alluding to the fact that there is a lot of corruption and impunity in the construction industry.
Ni kutriki sana. I would urge, kabla ununue hata kama ni chuma, chukua hiyo chuma, peleka lab, confirm tensile strength ya hiyo chuma. Kama ni simiti, mix nayo ile class umeambiwa, peleka hiyo kitu kwa lab so that you are able to know material gani mzuri na gani mbaya. Kwa sababu wenyewe hata saizi hata zenye tunajenga nazo huku hivi, kuna mahali penye unatoa mawe soft na kuna mahali unatoa mawe ngumu. Nyumba zisimamishwe bana. Kama watu wanakata shortcut, inafaa isimame na isimame na isimame. Watu wenye wanakula hongo, juu kuna watu wanakula hongo, washikwe na wakuwe arraigned in court, juu ni kunoma bana. Uwezi kuwa ati watu wengi wenye wako kwa mjengo ni wenye wako hand to mouth. So hata mtu akianguka na amekufa immediately, kabla watu wapate hata doa gathe waweze kupeleka hata mtu nyumbani, na kwa tricky sana.
Whereas questions have since arisen on the structural integrity of buildings being erected in the country, developers seem to capitalize on the housing shortage in the country to hastily and incautiously erect buildings for occupancy. Records by the World Bank note that Kenya has a housing deficit of at least 2 million houses, which increase by around 200,000 units every year. It is this business opportunity that has seen millionaire investors pump in money in the industry with the hope of getting good returns on investment. Whereas a significant number of investors follow the right channel in putting up their commercial structures, some opt for shortcuts and substandard building materials and labor to quickly finish their projects, ignoring the dangers involved.
And that is why we are encouraging investors, let's make use of developers who are known, and developers who are making use of professionals like us, Mrs. Africa Homes Limited, so that we walk the journey. Do not risk your hard-earned money. You find that a majority of investors, some of them, they feel the few coins they have to pay to the professionals or the contractors, professional contractors who are professional, is too much. So they decide to take fundis and just go direct into the construction without having that crucial stage. That crucial stage of the foundation, before the work begins, that is where there is a lot of, there needs to be a lot of focus, and that is where there is the key.
Chairperson of the Association of Consulting Engineers, Engineer Patrick Simiu, notes that there is an increase of quacks and ill-trained construction workers in Kenya's building and construction sector, which more than often exposes non-compliance with building standards.
If you have engineers available for your service, and we are not utilizing those services in the numbers that we have, why would we be spending a lot of money training people for 5 years, undertaking them through competency for another 3 years for them to become professional engineers, and then we are not able to utilize them? If you went to hospital and then you are told you want to see a doctor, and whoever comes to attend to you is a cleaner, as a patient, will you continue with that particular service?
Standard comes with foundation. The foundation is the most important thing in construction. And this is something that we as Mrs. we have noted, most of the customers do not actually understand. You have placed your money and you are just waiting for the end product. And you find that most people are just attracted with the finishings. And the finishings at times, they may be very appealing, but you find that the quality and the standard is on the foundation.
An audit report by the National Construction Authority (NCA) on the collapse of buildings in Kenya places the blame on poor workmanship and non-compliance to standards. The report says 10,791 out of the 14,895 buildings were marked as unsafe for occupancy and needed either reinforcement or demolition. Notably, 65% of collapsed buildings were residential, while 25% were commercial. Another 10% were mixed-use developments.
Many players in the built industry do not appreciate the role of professional engineers in the design of those particular buildings, and more importantly, in the supervision of those buildings. We have qualified engineers licensed to be able to carry out those supervision, but I can tell you the developers have turned a blind eye on the professionalism, and they are turning to quacks, they are turning to unlicensed artisans, they are turning to unlicensed craftsmen to be able to undertake these very professional activities And therefore, there's no professionalism, there's no lay emphasis on standards. And this one has really caused us in the collapse of building that you have seen in the recent past, mainly in Kiambu.
You need to engage the engineer to supervise the project after the design. So it's a question of wanting to cut corners. It's a question of not wanting to pay professionals. It's also a question of simply imagining that the professionals are not required or they're not necessary, and you can do away with them. And so we must address the issues from the root cause. We must regulate the developer.
If there is not that working together, if there is not that harmony, if there is not that working together, that is why there is a lot of problem and a lot of blame work. Because you may blame the investor. The investor may say, me, I had the money, or I got the money, I invested. I gave professionals that work. So the thing here is professionals. Professionals are the people who need to be accountable. Professionals are the people who are to advise and advise as it is.
The NCA report further revealed that 66% of the buildings collapsed after completion, while 34% collapsed during construction. In a case a building collapses, the owner of the project is taken into custody as the investigations into whether or not he or she evaded rightful procedures continues. Moige William, TV 47.